Welcome to episode 220 of Silver Lining for Learning. With me are co-hosts Kurt Bonk from Indiana, Punya Mishra from Arizona State, Yang Zhao from the University of Kansas and the University of Melbourne. I'm from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Our fifth co-host, Lydia Hao, is traveling in China at the moment, but sends her best wishes. And as host of this episode, I am really excited about it because one of the blessings that I've had in the last 5 years is to learn about and have as a collaborator the Technical College System of Georgia, which is what this episode is about. I'm the Associate Director for Research of one of the 5 National AI Institutes that's focused on education. And through that institute, we've had a wonderful partnership with the Technical College System of Georgia as a site that participates in co-design and implementation and co-evaluation of the kinds of AI tools that we do. But beyond that, I'm just very impressed with everything that they do as a model, and we're happy to share that with you in this episode. So we have 3 people with 3 different roles within the system, and I'm going to begin by asking Andrea Daniel to talk about her role.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm president at Athens Technical College in Athens, Georgia. Really a journey to get to that presidency for me. Started there 28 years now, president 9 years, and in our system, I'm really the senior female president as far as time spent as president at the college. Prior to that, I did a host of things at the college. Worked as an executive VP, economic development, student affairs, external affairs, grants, and loved being registrar there. That was just, I love data, quantitative, and that was just such a joy to be able to do that. Prior to that, I worked for a metropolitan planning agency, the Atlanta Regional Commission, where I caught the education bug, and I'm glad I did. We did a lot of initiatives there for school to work, and I got to go into the technical colleges, particularly Chattahoochee Technical College, and that was just really exciting to me. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I knew why I wanted to do it, and really was able to use the skills that I learned. On the legislative side, I had worked for Senator Nunn, interned, and for a couple of congressmen, and I was able to take that and work within the system to hopefully improve our education at Athens Technical College. But it's been a joy and blessing, and I really appreciate you having me today.
Tammy.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me as well. I am actually a product of technical education. I'm not sure if the ladies on the call know that, but in my high school years, I started at a vocational college to get my nurse aid, and that is what led me into the nursing bug, which continued my education into a BSN and an MSN. I worked in field as a nurse in labor and delivery. That's my true love. So I did that for 10 years, and then relocated to education and started with the Technical College System of Georgia in 1993, teaching first in their LPN programs. From there, I was the director of their LPN. And then as I continued my education through articulation agreements, I earned my master's degree and then moved into an RN program in South Georgia. I live down in South Georgia. And so at that point, I led that program through their accreditation visits, expanded their program to 3 other campuses, and also into a bridge program. About 3 years ago, after being with the Technical College System now for 30 years, I moved into the Director of Allied Health Curriculum for our system office. And my main role at that time of being hired was to increase our nursing enrollment across our technical college systems, as we know that nursing is one of our high demand areas in the state of Georgia. Since then, our nursing enrollment has increased 13%. And so we're excited for that. And so since then, I've also inherited the rest of our allied health programs underneath my title to see if we can build those as well as we continue to make health one of the largest sides inside the technical college. And so I'm excited to be a product, to have shown how articulation agreements let you expand into lifetime learning, and then be able to share my knowledge with others across our system.
And Adie.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting us to be with you today so we can tell you all the wonderful things we're doing at the technical college system. I have a very diverse background. I was a project manager who put in the first fiber optic network system for the New York Transit subway system. I've been a national marketing manager for Nortel Networks, worked in the engineering department for about 7 years, helping to map out fiber routes for the Bell operating companies back in the day. But one of the most rewarding things I was able to do was to start a distance learning program in some of the poorest areas of Mississippi, hooking up the Women's Math and Science University at Tupelo to these areas. Some of these students were studying space, and we had not even landed on the moon yet, because in the poor areas, they were getting textbooks that nobody else wanted anymore. And once we were able to hook these students up to the Math and Science Center in Tupelo, the governor gives out 10 writing awards every single year. No one in these areas had ever won that award before. After 2 years of distance learning, getting quality education, 4 students were awarded those awards. I saw a true difference in what distance learning, online learning can do for students. So of all the things I've ever done, and I was a national marketing manager also for CARE, this is the most rewarding job I've ever had. I'm the executive director of the Technical College Directors Association, and I work with our 22 local boards of directors and have devised a training program for them so that we can get every one of our board members board certified. Again, thank you so much for inviting me to share with you today.
So I'll begin by just sort of making a statement and asking you to react to it, and then turn things over to my co-hosts for what they want to add. As an academic, there's a couple things that I'm ashamed about in terms of many colleges and universities. One of them is that students pay a lot of money and they put in a lot of time and they get a degree of some sort. And then they find that they don't have many employable skills. That even if they've done really well in terms of their grades and all the signals that academics sends, the match to what employers are actually looking for often isn't very good. And certainly colleges and universities have other reasons for existing besides workforce development. But if you were to ask the people who are paying for those systems, what is your number one priority for them? It would be to take young people and prepare them to be, economic contributors and to have, well-paying jobs that can support their lives. So that's one troubling thing that I see that hasn't changed much during my career. Another is that a lot of places are not open enrollment, and in fact, they're very proud of, having standards of different kinds. And yet, in systems that do have open enrollment and that actually look at performance as the measure of whether you continue, rather than trying to pre-screen on the basis of grades or test scores or whatever they use, we find that there are really strong students who wouldn't be admitted by conventional standards who thrive once they walk in the door. And yet, again, we don't move towards forms of enrollment that let students show what they can do before they're prejudged as to whether they're get in or not. So I'm I'm trying to find a way to formulate a question out of this. I'm not trying to turn it into a sermon, but you are academic. I mean, you are academic under the same umbrella as the colleges and universities that I'm describing that I'm not so happy with. And I'm wondering how you're able to hold up the banner of both workforce development and open enrollments in a way that lets you still fulfill all those other responsibilities that academic institutions have.
Wow, that's a really good point, and makes me sit here and think about it in all the realms. You know, for many years, we do have those standards, and we continue to have those. We have program accreditation visits, because I just went through 14 of those after COVID, bunching those up. We normally have 4 or 5 a year. We've done 14. And we had our SAC COC visit. So we have all those standards and principles that we uphold, and they're very important. But as you said, to have open enrollment, we do have that for our colleges. We allow students to come in at the beginning of the term. We allow them to come in during the term. We have different parts of term, very flexible. And one of the key things is looking at our metrics and not just using tests, allowing students to come in from a multiple array, whether it's GPA, and a great tool for Georgia that has been implemented is our Georgia Match program that Governor Kemp has helped us to implement. And Georgia Match is a program that allows us, the USG, the university system, and the technical college system, all 22 technical colleges, we have worked together, and with a few exceptions on the university side, students are able to apply, and the barriers that they had in the past of filling out application after application, paying fees after paying fees, and really not understanding that they could stay in Georgia, they could get into these institutions. The barriers of all of those things that may seem so simple to an educator, but not to a prospective high school student, have really been removed. And that is a big part of what we're doing in education now regarding enrollment, open enrollment, and allowing that, is working together to have standards, but to allow students in at different pathways, at different on-ramps, about when they want to come to us. Students can come to us in dual enrollment, high school students. Students can come to us later in life. I prefer it to be earlier, because we don't want to be the secret. We want students to know about us. And very quickly, for me personally, I got really frustrated early on in education when students were coming to us saying, I'm going to be 35 when I finish this degree in 2 years. Why didn't I know about you? And now at our college, and it's not the same way at every college, but being in Athens, Georgia, being that we started dual enrollment before dual enrollment existed, 71% of our students are under the age of 25. Now, that's not mirrored in all of our technical colleges, but I really, really like the flexibility. And one quick way for me to say it so that hopefully everybody understands, I used to be a part of what you're talking about, where we were cookie cutter. You come in, you take this test, you make this score, and now there are so many ways to enter our institutions. There's so many ways to gain entry, whether it's through Career Plus, through Dual Achieve, through dual enrollment, through tech ed. There are just so many different ways to come into our college. So that really feeling of frustration that you're talking about has changed for us in Georgia, or particularly at my college. I love that we have students coming to us from all different avenues and different programs, and it's not cookie cutter anymore. It is very open to the students. And as you know, having open enrollment creates access. And when you create the access, you can meet your mission of workforce development. So it's really those two being able to work hand in hand and not adversely. And I know we're making progress. The numbers share that we do, but the students tell me their stories and they're amazing. So I'm just really, really excited about where we're headed.
I just wanted to add to that. When Governor Kemp and Superintendent Woods and Chancellor Perdue and our wonderful Commissioner Greg Dozier got together on this initiative to drive up basically admission to our colleges. It is the largest direct admissions program because we send out acceptance letters. There were 132,611 letters that were sent out, I believe, in November 2023. And 92,000 students responded, went to the QR code to save their space, because in that letter, it told them all the different colleges that their GPA would qualify them to attend. So instead of them having to go one by one and applying one college after the other, $25 here, $75 there, tuition application fees were waived. And it drove up our applications by 26%. So it's been a wonderful program that has continued again last year.
I think some of the success with our Georgia match and the students being excited about getting this acceptance letter is because we introduced them into our different programs in high school, like Dr. Daniels had said. But not only do we introduce it there, but we do have support across our state. For example, the Georgia Department of Technical Education has 22 articulation programs within our high schools where allow our students in our high school to start earning credit early for a program. So we work hand in hand, not only within our system, but other programs within the state that allow us to grow our students from the day they enter high school. And from the healthcare perspective, that's huge, is that we can get them in, to nurse aide, to paramedic tech, to have 2 different certificates as they come out of high school, get accepted through Georgia Match to continue their education. So I think the key to this and getting rid of those barriers is because we introduce it early to them.
Anya.
Thank you. And thank you so much for setting the context there, because I just have one little quibble with Chris' statement about higher ed being whatever. I am at Arizona State, and we are extremely proud of the fact that we are known by who we include rather than who we exclude. So there are exceptions to Harvard, if I may just say that. But I mean, one of the things that comes up in this, you're serving a very diverse communities, and this emphasis on access, which means you're getting a wide variety of learners coming into your system. And I think there are some challenges that are sort of inherent to that. And I would like to hear, how you are addressing that. But also there is this whole, the economies are changing, technology is changing. How do you keep your programs sort of relevant, preparing them for careers which we don't even know, would possibly exist and things that way. So I'm just curious, because you are working across such a wide variety of technical subjects, most of whom will get dramatically transformed in the next few years, or in the next decade or something like that. So I'm just curious, like this sort of diversity of students coming in and this uncertainty about the future, which we sort of alluded to before the show started. Anybody can go first. I'd just be curious to hear how you're tackling some of those issues.
Yeah, diversity on our campus is really celebrated, and we will take a student from wherever they're coming to us. We have students that have a PhD. We have students that have not finished high school, dropped out of high school. And it is challenging to run all the programs that we run, but it's also a blessing to us, because when a student walks in their door or our door, we can meet them anywhere that they are. And we're confident of that and work with that. It takes a lot of moving parts. It takes a lot of resources. You talked about the technologies. our state, our governor, our legislature, they put a lot into our programs, our credit programs and our training programs, our quick start programs that we have. I could go on and on. Our technology we've had in the past few years have just outpaced anything that we did in the past. As far as staying on top of things with the future, I would love to sit here and tell you that we are where we want to be in AI or in the greatest and latest technology. I will tell you, I find that very challenging because, as you said, it changes so fast. And but it's also, for us, we are using those technologies and serving students and working with them in financial aid. You used to have to come and set an appointment for financial aid and be there during the day. Now our students get financial aid advice at 2:45 a.m. in the morning. It's popular time. We found that out. And we have AI to help us do that. Technology has always helped us bridge the gap. But I do love, as far as our programs and where we're headed, we get good information from Lightcast, I love, that used to be EMSI. And then nothing is greater for us than our program advisory boards. Every academic program we have has companies that come and meet with us, and they share what for them are and how it's going to change in the future and their concerns. And not every company we've been able to meet their needs, but we've been able to help a lot of companies move forward with new technology, with training programs that we do through our economic development programs. So it's a great challenge. I see it moving so fast, but I'm going to say for me, it's been a big paradigm shift. I'm a space enthusiast. My students know it. I love NASA. It is something that I love. I watch. I enjoy every launch. But then in my studies where failure isn't an option, here comes Elon Musk and says failure is, if you're not failing, you're not thriving. And so my students are helping me embrace that. And I can't say that every program we will have great outcomes, but the ones that we are focusing on are really producing quality graduates for the workforce. And I'm very, very excited about that. But it is and remains a big challenge, as you're talking about. For us, this past year, we have our radiology lab, and hospitals came in it and said, this is beyond the technology that we have, and this is where we're headed to. We had to keep the old technology to do the training, but that was awesome for me because in the past, when I became president 9 years ago, we didn't get that type of support that we get from our governor. Our legislators have really been helping us with the technology side of things. And I'm very thankful for our students that we have that on campus. A lot of technology, from drones to 3D printers and 3D things that they're doing that are blowing me away, that are just amazing on our campus. So we're continuing to work with it. But AI for me is it's going to continue to be something that I try to work with and am going to be challenged by, quite frankly.
We have a couple of other avenues too to help us be relevant and look at the careers of the future. And by the way, Andrea, just want to let you know that NASA is looking for a whole bunch of people right now, including space lawyers, space cowboys, to rope in those asteroids and they can look at all the minerals.
We have a couple of students that present to me NASA gifts because they go out and intern. SpaceX. I get rockets sent to me. I get these things. So I love that our students are enthusiasts as well. It's just something that I enjoy very much.
One of the departments within the technical college system is called Quick Start. I don't know if you've heard about them, but they're the #1 economic development program in the United States, have been for, I think it's 14 years or 15 years now. And I like to think these people at Quick Start as Imagineers. Quick Start was founded in 1967 to help train resources for industries that were coming to Georgia. And since 1967, they have actually trained over, well, right at 2 million Georgians and almost 7,000 projects that they've had. I believe we had 66 or so Georgians last year who got trained through Quick Start. And as a matter of fact, Quick Start is so well known that they actually, some of our major industries actually have Quick Start on site to help with ongoing upskilling and reskilling. Now, you think about this. You've got a new industry or a new product, and Quick Start has to come up with these training modules for them to be able to work with this on an ongoing basis and be able to change those training modules whenever the industry requires that we change it, primarily because of the advents in AI. So first off, Quick Start, kudos to them and what they're able to achieve. And about 12 years ago, we started having what we call the Tech Talks. I was sitting down talking to a group of our board members, which come from every single industry you can imagine, because Georgia has 38 Fortune 500 companies here, 19 of which call Georgia their headquarters. Companies such as Coke and Delta, UPS, and my personal favorite, Home Depot. I live at Home Depot on the weekends. As a matter of fact, when I walk in now, they have the greeters there who say, "Can I help you find something?" When I come in now, they say, "Adie, what do you want?" Well, Adie would like to have a personal parking spot right up front so I don't have to push those 4x4s out in the rain. But in talking to these board members, I was talking about Waymo's self-driving cars. Now, what self-driving cars came out in 2009 in California. So this is around 2012. Do you know none of these board members had ever heard of artificial intelligence or self-driving cars? They just knew they weren't going to ride in one. And now look today, Waymo will have self-driving cars on the streets of Atlanta this year. So it dawned on me, if these people who are sitting on our boards, and several from corporate America, about 8% of our board members come from corporate, that means our communities didn't know about it either. So the best thing we could do was to start bringing in entrepreneurs and people who understood all these new technologies and where we were headed to what we call the Tech Talks. And over the last 12 years, we brought in 80 presenters to talk about things like 3D printed homes. If you've never seen a 3D printed home, you need to go see Alquist, because they are building these homes. You can build a shell in between 48 and 72 hours. They actually cost about 1/3 less to build, or they will eventually, hurricane proof and termite proof. Something like that can be added to our existing curriculum, so you don't have to write or design a whole new curriculum. This past year, we brought in Polarum Smart Socks, which help with our medical industry, because these socks help prevent individuals from falling in the hospital. So the VA is now using these socks. So we keep bringing in new technologies to introduce the language of these new career fields, and hopefully to be able to integrate them into some or many of our existing curriculum.
Thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
So our governor has been so impressed with the Quick Start side of our house that this past year he funded for us what we call 2 healthcare incubator managers. And they are going across the state, having dialogues across individual sections, bringing in our healthcare partners, our doctors' offices, those community people, healthcare departments that understand what our needs are in the community, not only regarding AI instruction, but in general. So as Adie talked about, expanding businesses and helping businesses in those areas, our goal is to, how can we help that rural community that might have a doctor's office that is trying to be opened and they don't have anyone to train their front office staff. Or we have that simulation model mobile unit that goes out to our farmers in a Spanish speaking language to train them on just simple tasks of how do you read your blood pressure and what does that mean. So we're excited that our governor supported these 2 new managers to join us and take the help side of the house into all the new AI avenues and what is out there in our communities that we can help instruct, what new TCCs are out there that we need to develop to address the AI issues affecting healthcare today. And so I think for the healthcare side of the house, we will see these managers explode with some great ideas as we move forward. They have 2 more dialogues left within the state of Georgia coming up in the next couple of months. But from their current 2 past, they have presented me with 8 new technical certificates that we're going to look at offering for healthcare. And we're looking at doing some web page design differently than what we have, just to have a healthcare page and those kind of things. So we look forward to expanding our doctor's offices, exploring 2 new TCCs in our hospitals for those things that they're needing that are not out there. And then offering some continuing education. We know that one of our huge issues in today is mental health issues, and how are we teaching those with AI? How are we making sure that our employees can deal with those? So we're looking at a healthcare violence TCC to not only be taught to our students going into healthcare, but our employers that are already out there, and how do they handle those issues that become violent in those settings? And we know that we've seen an increase in those since COVID. And so how do we keep our employees and our students safe walking into these? So we embrace that. We also know that there's some companies out there that actually have some AI speakers that will do a communication technique with our students. So if I'm having an interview with you and you give me a negative response, then that little avatar is going to come back to you with a different response back to you. So it teaches those communication skills to them based on their responses. So we're seeing that across our state as well. We're excited for some of those as well.
One last item, if I can add to that, you know, there's a lot of technology that's already out there, like Adie said. And for us, Governor Kemp and the legislature allowed us to build a $21 million industrial technology building right on our main highway that houses mechatronics. And we put that lab right up front with the robots going all the time, lighted at night. And students, that program, since doing that, we have more than tripled our enrollment numbers. And students have told me that until they saw that lab, they didn't realize that the technology is truly here. And I thought, why wouldn't they realize that? But if they hadn't had the opportunity to apply it and to work with it, why would they know? And so just being able to visualize it, that support, and being able to see it, to know that it is an opportunity right there on our main highway, and to get some real visibility, that's been very helpful to enhancing our technology programs on our campus as well.
Thank you so much. Kurt, I know you've been waiting.
Sure, yeah, sure. Been a great conversation so far. I'm going to try and add to it various things that I've heard and respond to them. First off, for those people listening or watching this episode, take a look at the blog posts and read up on this, because there's a lot of exciting things happening in Georgia. And I hope maybe at the end of my question, you'll expand on some of those so that people can dig deeper into what's going on there. Sounds really exciting. And that almost leads me to think we need to have other shows like this with other people from other states. And if you have any recommendations for us, of people and states or communities that we could bring in, please let us know, Tammy, Adie, and Andrea. So first, Tammy, you're a product of the technical college system. I'm a product of distance learning, as my colleagues know. I was a board accountant or CPA back in the Cube farms of Milwaukee back in the early 1980s, and took correspondence and TV courses to get into grad school in educational psychology. So distance learning changed my life. I wouldn't be here right now without the opportunities that I've had. Wisconsin was a leader in distance learning opportunities in correspondence and other things. Charles Wedemeyer promoted different ideas for open education, for open universities that weren't even embraced by Wisconsin, even though it was a leader. And he had to go to the UK to help create the Open U in the UK, the first Open U in the late 1960s. So that's the first little connection I want to make with what you all have said. But I could go on and on how my life and other people's lives. I've interviewed people who have taken MOOCs, who have taken online courses, who have used open education, who have used MIT OpenCourseWare, whose lives have changed all across the spectrum, from teenagers to older adults who are retired. So yeah, I was really resonating with that, Tammy. Adie, I want to just add a couple of things. When you were working with, it was AT&T high band or fiber or whatever, what was
Fiber
it?
optics.
Fiber optics, yeah. My father worked for AT&T his whole life. And when I was in Paris in 1992 at a conference, my mother took care of my kids, and my father opened my letter from Indiana University, and it said, well, they were building a new building with fiber optics, Cat5 cabling, and we want to get you in for an interview. My father said, you better go get that interview for Indiana University. I was at West Virginia University at the time. But AT&T and Ameritech put in Cat5 cabling in 1992, and we didn't have the capacity to even use it on the rest of the campus. We never utilized it for another decade until the rest of the campus was that wired. So anyways, yeah, I'm just reminiscing a little bit on that. But AT&T and Ameritech made a big impact on this state too, and what was going on at the time, and a lot of video conferencing in the 1990s with a project called Project Athena at the time to all the school districts throughout the state. And then third, you were talking about making impact, Adie. My last book I was calling Making Impact, but Rutledge had to change the title, some really long thing so people could find it. No one's found it yet. But we did have the opening chapter and the ending chapter before Making Impact and after Making Impact and Time to Make Impact. Anyway, so I resonate with that. I have a book called The World is Open, been trying to do a follow-up called The World is More Open, and looking at how people's lives are changing through technology. And I think I need to talk to folks in Georgia about that. Now to my question, and I have two. I'm not going to hold off on the second one and wait if we have time later. But Andrea mentioned an F word, flexible, over and over and over again. I think that's a very important F word we all need to keep in mind in today's society, and I try and abide by that in all my lesson plans, all my courses. But the other F word is free. And I'm curious, you have the word, the free word there under workforce training under the Georgia Quick Start. Could one of you describe the freeness of Georgia Quick Start? Could one of you maybe describe other programs or opportunities that are free? Because that's what gets people excited when they hear the word free. So are you using open courseware in your courses, open textbooks, free and open textbooks to save money that way? So could you talk about the freeness, first of all, on the Quick Start and freeness in other ways?
Yeah, I love Quick Start. I actually have a Quick Start facility on my campus. I think I'm the only president that has that. I see their value. It is like no other program, as Adie said. And it's really hard sometimes to explain to companies, but later they come back and confirm what I'm telling them. It is an incentive program that was started in 1967, meaning that it was codified in our legislature. The money is put there. It's an incentive program by the state of Georgia to bring companies to Georgia. It's a part of their package in getting them to come to Georgia first and do business here. What I love about Quick Start is that they are so focused. They work with every single company and they find out what type of training that company needs, and they provide it at a level that is unmatched. And the companies are so thrilled. In our area, Caterpillar used it. And what a daunting task to hire 2,200 employees in a short time frame. We assisted, but us in Quick Start, we met that goal 3 months early. And every single new employee for Quick Start, those 2,200, went through our facility there. It's on my campus, receiving that Quick Start training. What that training does is help in retaining the employees. They walk in, they know how to do it, and they know how to perform, build those excavators, and it cranks the first time. And that sounds not so daunting, but it really can be. And it's free to the company. And then As far as technical education, we have free programs. We have high demand programs. We have the HOPE grant that's just based on being a resident of Georgia. You can come to a technical college, and as Chris said, my students leave with no debt. No debt. And this year, 98.1% were placed in field. They come, they know where they want to go, what they want to do. We help them with that if they don't. But I am really finding it refreshing that the students are very focused on their careers and they leave with no debt. Now, sometimes they come to us with debt, but we're going to help them find a career that will help them get out of that debt. And so it's very rewarding to see that the students leave with, sometimes their checking accounts are blank, and to bring contracts by saying, look at my new contract. And then as far as adult ed, our Career Plus programs, our adult education programs, those are all free. And so it is a beauty of, as far as our system, that students come and leave without a lot of debt. And I know, Adie, you're wanting to add to that or say something else. I'm sorry.
You want to, especially with the Hope Career Grant, there are 18 different pathways. There's something for everybody, and it is free. And when I talk about high demand careers, we're talking practical nursing, early childhood education, aviation. Georgia has over 500 aeronautical companies in this state. So of course that's a growing field. Then there's advanced manufacturing. So there are 18 different categories you can look at. And in those particular programs, that subject matter is free for us to teach to you. We like to look at it. Think about a nursing student, 22 years old, comes in and 67 credit hours, roughly 2 years of training. Then they can go take their NCLEX test and become a registered nurse. No debt. So we're trying to help these students coming out to build wealth, not debt. So by the time this student has graduated, let's say they're 24, by the time they're 30, they already have a 401k plan, and maybe they've started to save a little money for a down payment on a home. They're not looking at 15 or 20 years of debt that they have to pay off. It's a smart business investment to come to the technical college system of Georgia.
I also have to give a shout out to our, on the health side of the house, I'm always going to speak on health, but I have to get a shout out to our healthcare partners out there, our hospitals, our doctors' offices, our health departments. Our hospitals normally show up, I would say, at all 22 nursing schools first day of orientation for those nursing students, and they offer them a service cancelable loan, basically, just for 3 years. If you'll come and work for us for 3 years after graduation, which guarantees you employment, we're going to give you $2,000 this year while you're in school to use as you need. So where their college stuff, their fees and their coursework and their books may be all covered through our HOPE system, this is money that they may need to use if their car breaks down or they need extra gas money to school. It's to use as they need. So we have our healthcare partners that are signing students up immediately. Our healthcare partners have put into place internships and externships within our students so they can work while they are going through school and get paid for it. We also have an apprenticeship program for a lot of our students that are technical education students. We particularly use it for our nurse aid programs where they actually get additional funding to work while they're in school. I'm currently working, just presented it to the Georgia Board of Nursing last week to do an apprenticeship program just with our LPN students currently, where they would get time, their clinical would count toward their work time, and they would also get paid for that as well. So that if this apprenticeship gets approved at our Georgia Board meeting, hopefully in March, then we will pilot it in one of our schools so that those LPN students, where they have to do 20 hours of clinical a week, are being paid for those 20 hours of clinical. So that, a lot of our students come in as single moms, displaced homemakers. So they need that extra income or they have to work while they're in school. So if we can get them paid for their clinical experience, that will help offset some of the stress that they face trying to get out of nursing school.
And Tammy, you're correct. Our students also receive WIOA funding through WorkSource Georgia, which is another part. It's the state's federally funded program, and that provides for health, for childcare and transportation too. And you're right, we couldn't do what we do without our partners. I have to say, we've got a lot of healthcare partners, hundreds, but Piedmont, they help fund our faculty members. The reason that they do that is without additional faculty members, I would only be allowed through the Georgia Board of Nursing, ASIN, to probably bring in 60 RN student slots a year. Due to Piedmont's investment in our college, we're able to accept about 130 now. And the reason that they do it, I believe there's 3 primary reasons. One, our system warranties our graduates. We're a sure thing. We warranty our graduates. If our graduates go in the field and I hear from Piedmont that the nurses cannot do what they're supposed to be doing and we taught that class, we'll take them back and train them for 2 years at no cost to the company, the hospital, no cost to the student, but I'll do it longer because I can't have any graduate in the field that's not proficient. Our programs are very hands-on. We've got to know what we're doing. Our students do know what they're doing. And my time is, that's due to great faculty, not due to me. My faculty and the content experts, they are the ones doing that and working with the students and the graduates. But I've only had 5 companies come back to me and want me to warranty a student. I mention it in every presentation, including today. It's in every presentation I give. I want everyone to know it. And so that's a big, big part. The other part is the return on the investment that Adie talked about. Piedmont has told me that without our graduates, they would have to hire travel nurses, temp nurses at a tune of $3 million a year. So that is important. And then our pass rate this year for our nurses, our RN nurses, 100%, 100% on a national board. And we worried about that with COVID because we're still lingering with that. But our faculty are just outstanding, passionate. They could be making more money, I'm sure, in their fields. Prospective fields, but they believe in what they're doing and educating nurses and educating our students. And I'm so thankful that we have great, passionate faculty members out there who want to do it. So with all of that, I just really appreciate Tammy bringing up our partners. We have that though in every area, in all of our companies, just outstanding, hundreds of companies that work with us. And I'm really appreciative of them.
Thank you for that answer, everyone. It's wonderful what's going on there. I think Young's going to jump in now.
Thank you. Chris, thanks for organizing this. And this is, Georgia's been the news in recent years, become the national kind of hot place, for news. But I'm so happy to hear from 3 happy people about education, right? We used to know a lot about Georgia peaches and Georgia pecan or pecan, whatever you say that, But today I think we have, on a Saturday, 3 very happy people proudly talking about Georgia, technical colleges. So, and you guys are doing a great commercial for Georgia. This is good. So I got 2 questions. I hope you have time to answer them. One has to do with right now when Chris was talking about traditional colleges, how miserable they are, except for Punya's college, ASU, and we got to highlight that, and maybe some other distance programs, but the Punya was also talking about how do you prepare future. I think you guys answered beautifully your advisory meetings. So I read the first question has to do with when things can go global, you guys have such high quality programs. Can you, by Georgia state law, really take students from other states? I'm from Kansas now. At this moment I'm in Oregon. So can Oregon students take your courses or you can go to other countries? So that's and how do you deal with that? If you had international students, for example, how are you handling that? And the second question has to do with Andrea. You were talking about faculty. When Punya was talking about the future, you always need a faculty to upstate. I mean, to upgrade their knowledge and their skills and partners. Do you hire faculty or teachers from your partners, or do they offer them to teach courses? So those are two questions. It'll be great to get answers from you guys. Thank you.
What was the first one again?
The first, can you take students from out of
Yes.
Georgia? Yeah.
Absolutely. And for us being right there next to the University of Georgia, that has really helped us to have an international flair on our campus that I believe strengthens us. We have students right now this term from 14 countries at our college. And we do have programs where we're able to work with them and take them. Now, you can come from other states to all of our programs. There are some qualifications for our health selection programs. Georgia's going to require that we take all qualified applicants from Georgia first. But if then we have openings, we can take them from other states. But as far as well-being, as far as business programs, the ones that don't have selective or competitiveness, you can come right in and we can take as many. And we do. We have students from other states. I believe 33 states. We have students from other nations. And I believe for us, the draw has been from students who are going to the University of Georgia and their family members wanting to pursue something maybe different and coming to us. We do have scholarship programs. We are allowed to waive the international rates to the out-of-state rate. We can do that. And then there are groups that want to support that in our region, and they're allowed to provide scholarships. And so we're able to do that. And our tuition is so affordable anyway that it's going to be less than what it is at our research counterpart university. So definitely we're able to do that and enjoy that on our campus. I know I like the International Cuisine Day the best. We get to walk in and students have prepared home dishes that are just delicious. And we're able to talk about those and how they were made. And it's just a good time for our students to have that introduction to other cultures and appreciate it. And it helps bring an enrichment to our college that I value.
And the second question was to do with the faculty. I'm sure, we have a huge challenge of getting the right faculty and stay there long enough. So how do you deal with that? Any one of you guys jump in, feel free.
Yeah, faculty are really hard. I will tell you my go-to on faculty. We have faculty members from Wisconsin. We have a lot of the same faculty members as UGA. Who often teach the same courses. It's amazing. But we will look in really difficult areas where it's high demand, nursing and welding and mechatronics. And we like to hire our own graduates. So at every staff meeting I have people raise their hand and say if they're a graduate. And I applaud Tammy for that. It's the only regret that I have in my whole educational pursuit that I didn't pursue technical education. My dad owned a diesel shop and I did not, but I will tell you, we do lifelong learning, so it's never too late. So I am going into those areas, learning about what they do, and I realize, it's really, really something that I value, but it is hard to get faculty. We pay our nursing faculty very well. It is very difficult to get faculty in high demand areas, but we are able to do it. We have had programs where we've had people from other countries come and teach with us and had great success with that. Not a lot on our campus, but if so, we're probably able to draw them because of the University of Georgia. And you hear me saying that a lot. The UGA is the big fish in town, and that's okay. I look at it as an opportunity to work with them and glean from them a true partnership. And President Moorhead and I have that. We couldn't run our veterinary technology program, for example, without it. We are on their campus at their small university, small animal Center, which is not small. It's incredible. And we have an office there. We have a veterinarian there. We teach the vet nurses for animals, and they teach the veterinarians. Same with biotech. We teach the research assistants. They teach the, the biologists. So at the end of the day, we find ways to partner, but President Moorhead, I'm not speaking for him. I've just heard him share it with other people and with me, and I agree. Our missions are just different. And for everything that I do with our students, I get up and think about how we're going to meet the workforce needs, but how we're also going to weave that into the students' needs as well.
Just wanted to throw in something that we had not talked about. You have these great programs, Quick Start, all kinds of Georgia Match, for students. But what about sustainability? How do we keep moving forward, especially into the unknowns of the future? And I have to give a lot of credit to our incredible commissioner, Greg Dozier, who relaunched a program we had in place several years ago. It just kind of, fell by the wayside, called the Leadership Academy. And each of our colleges sends one individual for a year-long program on how to make us do better, how they're going to be prepared to help lead a college one day. So it's been a remarkable program under the guidance of Dr. Alberta Thomas. And I told her she was only going to wave to her today, but it's been awesome. A very successful program. And I want to throw in something real quick, because I know we're running out of time, about our instructors. A very short little story. The reason they stay. I was at a graduation ceremony several years ago, sitting up on stage with the board members, and we're getting close to the end. We have the associate degrees, we have your diplomas and your technical college certificates. This place is just packed. Family members, well-wishers. So you've got over 1,000 people sitting on that floor, that gym floor, and it's set up your typical columns with your graduates and that center aisle. At the end of the center aisle was the mobility section for individuals who may struggle. They have a wheelchair or a walker or whatnot. So we're close to the end of all these graduates going across, and the place is going wild, right? And all of a sudden, this young, very tall male comes walking down the side of the graduates to go up on the stage. He is so tall, the president's having to look up and, congratulate him on this accomplishment. He walks down the stage, goes in front of the other graduates, and starts walking down that center aisle towards the mobility section. And as he's walking towards the end of that aisle, a very elderly gentleman stands up with a walker, and he starts to walk towards this young man. And all of a sudden, you hear this quiet descend across the entire room. There wasn't even a baby crying. And this young man stops momentarily and looks at this elderly gentleman walking towards him. And they come together in the middle of that aisle. And this elderly gentleman looks up and says, "You the first. You the first." This young man was the first person in all those generations of his family to receive a high school diploma. Our instructors stay. Many could go and teach at the university level. But the reward of hearing just that one student say, "I'm the first one to graduate from college," is why they stay. Kudos to our instructors.
As always, we're out of time. Before we're out of interesting things to talk about, I just want to say that beyond the wonderful work you do in Georgia and outside of Georgia, You also are potentially a model. There may be people from other states who are listening saying, I wish my state did that. And obviously it's complicated because it's a coalition of government, industry, and academic partners. There may be other countries listening that say, wow, in my country or my region, I'd love to have something like that. So I hope that people will think about this as a model as well as an exemplar. But thank you again for making the time, and thank you again for everything that you do. And thank you for being a partner with our AI Institute and letting us together explore where AI is taking us in the future. So next week, our show will be at an unusual time, 10 a.m. It will be about the MIT STEP Lab, which looks at collaborative artificial intelligence for learning, CAIL, but also at issues of responsible use of AI in education. So if you're interested in AI and collaboration and responsibility, we hope that you'll tune in next week. And please have a great rest of your weekend.